Hi, Cilla. It's so great to see you again.
Thank you, Nancy. It's great to be here.
So for everybody watching this, Cilla Whatcott has been a homeopath for 12 years, and you currently finished a film called Real Immunity. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So, Real Immunity has been a huge project that I decided to undertake because so many parents are faced with huge decisions regarding their children's health care. And I see them being gripped with fear over making the wrong decision. And what I know as a parent, myself, and also having so many clients, patients over the years, is that a mother's intuition is huge, and the decisions we make for our children are always the right decisions, even if we don't see them in that way, because we have to follow what we feel strongly about. And the responsibility is to get all the information we can get. If you get information, you follow your heart, your intentions are in the right place for your children, it's going to be fine. So I really wanted to make Real Immunity to emphasize that immunity doesn't come from the end of a needle or a pharmaceutical pill. We're born with real immunity, and it's a matter of how to support that, enhance that, and to find your tribe so that others can support you in those decisions. So the film is to dispel fear, to give parents resources, and there's lots of resources in the second episode of the film, which is called Passage to Real Immunity. And we touch on different modalities: chiropractic, functional medicine, gemotherapy, homeoprophylaxis in the second episode as resources. And ultimately, this will empower parents to feel not so alone in their challenge.
I'm so glad that you've done this film because I've been a chiropractor for almost 25 years now. And I have to say that, when I first started in practice, I'd see people get concerned about the flu or, ask me questions about if they should get vaccinated. And I found they were more receptive to hearing both sides of the story than they are now. And I think the combination of what goes on in the media, the doctors are now pushing vaccinations harder than ever before. And you talk about trusting intuition. I think it's harder for parents to listen to that voice when they're being bombarded on so many angles about the fear of, oh my God, if you don't vaccinate, and they're not even being given the choice. They're being told, okay, your child's going to receive the shots on this visit. They're not being prepared for it. They're not given the information ahead of time to make a good decision.
Right.
And I feel so frustrated by that. So I'm really glad, and I can't wait to see this film when it comes out.
Well, that's great. Nancy, the polarization is horrible. It's just polarized, and there's no healing in that. That's really divisive. So my goal with the film is not to polarize, but to empower. So it's information, it's interviews with experts who have their opinion, but also support a parent making their own choice. And that's how it needs to be. So it'll be a free viewing. It'll be up for 36 hours for anyone who wants to sign up for that free viewing. They just need to go and enter their email at realimmunity.org.
And we'll post that link after I post this interview as well. And also when it becomes available, we'll also post it again on the different pages of people that are going to be seeing this video. So I'm really glad that you're doing that because, as a chiropractor, I really believe that health comes from within. It doesn't come from a pill, a potion, a needle, because all those things have potential side effects. I believe they're destroying the immune system. And again, our moms and dads have lost that ability to tap into their intuition. And I find it so disheartening because they're not encouraged to.
Right. And I think we're moving in that direction. I'm encouraged because I see so many parents who recognize that and want to do that. They just need the support of trusted people around them, a tribe around them. So, you know, the chiropractic community is way ahead of conventional medicine in terms of philosophy and the awareness that life has intelligence. And it's that intelligence that guides us. I'm going to be speaking at 3 different chiropractic conferences coming up. One of them is Jeannie Ohm, who's the head of the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association, ICPA, and it's coming up the first weekend in March, called Family First. And there's going to be some great speakers there that really talk about what is this immunity and how do we connect with our clients. And so, yeah, I'm excited about it, and I'm really excited to share it with people free of charge initially, and then it'll be in DVD form. And I'm looking into doing local screenings if anybody's interested in having a local screening. There's no investment on their part. They just have to generate the interest, and then it can come to a local theater near them.
Great, great. So, you know, being a homeopath, a lot of people really have no idea what homeopathy is. So if you could touch on how homeopathy works in the body. Now, I want to share with you, back in my first year of chiropractic school, so that was 1990. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I went to a chiropractor who was also a classical homeopath for a bowel problem I had had for 10 years. And I was ready to go on a trip to Europe. And of course, it was in France, where they eat a lot of rich foods. And I thought I had tried everything to heal, you know, this gut problem I had. And again, I was petrified to go. I wanted to go. I was dying to go, but I was scared. And I went to this homeopath, and he actually recommended lycopodium for me. And one dosage, and I realized that this is not the norm. My symptoms were gone. I was able to leave a week later. I ate whatever I wanted, lots of garlic, lots of butter, and it was amazing. Now, I found that I'd had to take it periodically for a couple of years, but within about 3 or 4 years, I've never had another symptom.
Nancy, you did tell me that story. It's fabulous. And the reality is about 30% of people who experience homeopathy have that kind of distinct turnaround. And 30% are not feeling anything significant initially. And about 30% are in the middle, where they're feeling something and constantly getting better. So it's not unusual at all. Those are the wonderful cases that keep us going, and all homeopaths have had cases like that. So that's great.
So homeopathy, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, is totally safe.
Completely safe, because it's an energetic form of medicine. So we use materials from nature, animal, mineral, or vegetable, but they're diluted to such an extent that there's no molecules of the original substance, rendering it a vibration. So it's information. We're downloading information. And we know that everything is energetic. You know, everything in the world's energetic. So it's not dangerous. You cannot be harmed with homeopathy. Music is energetic. Prayer is energetic. So these are things that, can you do too much? Can you do too little? It's, you know, there's certain guidelines. You should see a classical homeopath, professional homeopath, but it is very, very safe, and in low potencies can be used by most lay people.
Yeah, and you can go to the store and buy remedies for symptomatic problems. And I guess that leads me to my next question is, how would you define what a classical homeopath does versus going into Whole Foods and grabbing a remedy off the shelf?
Right. So what you're describing is practical homeopathy, which is great. You know, if you have a bug bite or, you know, different minor acute things, you can easily look on the label and treat. It may very well work very well. I had a colleague in school who came to school, became a homeopath because she bought an off-the-shelf remedy for allergies, and it solved her lifelong allergy problem. So it's very possible to hit the target with something small and acute. constitutional, classical homeopathy is much, much deeper. And it really takes into account everything about the client. We look at history, we look at likes and dislikes, we look at temperament, we look at physical characteristics, we look at what we call befallments, things that have happened in your life, and when did your symptoms start in relationship to those befallments. We look at all of that, and it really operates on a much, much deeper level. We give one very high potency remedy at a time, and we wait weeks because the remedy is not doing the work. The person's vital force is doing the healing, and that takes time. It's very organic. So that's the difference. Practical homeopathy can be used in an instant. You can run to the store and get a 30C. If you have bruises, arnica, 30C. I've seen children with a goose egg. It comes down instantly. Any kind of bruising. I had a gentleman who had a bike accident, hit by a car. He was banged up. Took arnica. The next day he was out dancing because it took care of the bruising. So lots of things you can do acutely on your own.
And I want to mention to you, my daughter, after she was born, she was having some gut issues. And she was also having this, she was probably a couple of years old, and she just had this rash that would never go away. But she had this stress reaction where she would like lick her finger when she was stressed out. And over a period of, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, I took her to 3 different classical homeopaths. And because I moved, I was living in Santa Fe at one point, I was living in North Carolina, and then I took her to somebody outside of Baltimore. And it was so interesting because the sessions, that initial consultation was almost an hour and a half. They want to know every little piece of information. And each one of them came up with the same remedy for her. In her case, it was pulsatilla. So they each came up with pulsatilla. And I found that you don't see that kind of consistency in other fields. It's interesting how these 3 different homeopaths came up with the exact same remedy for her.
Right. Well, it sounds like they were all classical.
They were.
Taking a full case. And, there's a certain degree of art as well as science with homeopathy. So I would say your daughter probably was a very obvious pulsatilla state that they could identify, and they were able to zero in on it and target it. And did it help her with her?
It did. It did. It cleared up all of her symptoms. And in fact, she's we could talk about this later, but she's having some other symptoms. And I'm wondering, now that she's 14, maybe we should start on that again. But
yeah.
So you and I are both very concerned about what is being portrayed on the media regarding this flu epidemic. And there's a lot of statements, I'll just call them lies. There's a lot of lies out there that's being perpetrated on. I use these, I'm selecting these words very carefully. They're being, this is a perpetration on our citizens of the U.S. because they're pushing this flu vaccine, even though it's labeled, they're saying it's only 10% effective. But the truth is they know they picked the wrong strain, so it's really 0% effective. And they're doing all this hype and scaring people to get this shot, even though it's only 10% effective. And people are really getting injured as a result of the shot.
Right. And you're right, Nancy. It's propaganda. They have to sell this manufactured product that's only good for this season, this year. So they're motivated by marketing. Absolutely. And the thing I would point out is a study, and you might be familiar with this. It was by Cowling and Fang, 2012. They gave a group the flu vaccine, and what they found was that while it created antibodies to that particular strain in that flu vaccine, it compromised Th1, which is the innate arm of the immune system, so that these people were more prone to pick up all the flu-like viruses, everything but what was in the vaccine. So when people say, I took the vaccine and I got sick, They didn't get sick from that vaccine. They got sick from everything else they could then pick up as a result of compromising that arm of their immune system. So this is what I share with people. The Tamiflu information coming out is kind of horrifying.
Horrifying.
So yeah, it's about information. And I happen to know that the CDC did promote some advertising information to raise the fear level so that they could sell these stores of flu vaccine. And to, I don't know if you saw the Del Bigtree interview where he sent someone to actually check if ERs were overflowing, if they were backed up. And the camera person went there and found it was empty to this particular hospital they were claiming was so backed up. These are just methods to raise the fear. And fear is a huge motivator. And this is why in the film, I really wanted to focus on busting that fear, because we can't think when we're afraid. We can't make decisions.
Right. And the other thing is, you know, you touched on the Tamiflu, right? So I saw a story about a 6-year-old girl who had the flu shot, got the flu, went to the hospital, and they gave her Tamiflu, and then she went home and tried to jump out her window. So the list of potential psychiatric problems as a result of Tamiflu is incredible, including, you know, delirium, delusions, wanting to harm yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I list off what these potentials are, I got them off of drugs.com. I didn't get it from some wacky alternative health site. All you have to do is go to the medical sites and you can see all this information. And with that in mind, I encourage people, whenever they are considering getting vaccinated, to look up the vaccine insert online and read the potential side effects, because the doctors give you this sheet that say, well, you might have a slightly elevated fever, you might have soreness at the injection site, but they don't list the 50 to 100 problems, including paralysis, that could happen as a result of the flu shot alone.
Right. Informed consent. People need informed consent so they can make a conscious choice. It's just about raising the consciousness level. Yeah, there was a young man who committed suicide just recently, a few days ago, after taking Tamiflu. Yeah.
It should be recalled.
Side effects are bad. Yeah.
It should be recalled. The flu shot should be recalled.
I think that, well, Nancy, it's a cash cow. You know, every season, boom, it's huge in terms of revenue. So, sorry, my thought flew out of my mind, but yeah.
Well, so let's talk about, there's several, I believe, great homeopathic remedies for the flu. We already know that vitamin D is great to take because we're not getting as much sunshine if we live in the northern part of the country. Right. So we're not getting the vitamin D, so it's great to supplement with vitamin D, and taking probiotics. Those are things that actually have been studied and found to be more effective at combating the flu than the flu shot or Tamiflu. What else from a homeopathic standpoint can people do?
Couple things. There's about 9 fabulous remedies for the flu, and I think I wrote an article for you. I don't know if you
did
publishing it, but those 9 remedies are in that article, and it talks about the keynotes, the characteristics. You know, is it a vomiting flu? Is it a bone aching flu? Is it a headache flu? A cough flu? Because we can see all different characteristics. I also have a class that I've posted on my website, Family Homeopathy Care. It's about an hour class outlining with pictures, with slides, these 9 remedies and what the keynotes are for those remedies, so that someone could, you know, see that and be able to choose a remedy. Also, there's influenzinum. There was a double-blind placebo-controlled study out of Brazil for influenzinum. And it's basically, it can be made in different preparations. So some make it from the current virus that's going around. Others make it from some different things. Mine, the one that I offer, is made from H1N1, H3N2, one other influenza B, and basilinum. So it's very broad, and the one that I like to use can be used every single year. You don't have to get a new one each year. So again, Influenzainum is great. I offer that on worldwidechoice.org. And then I think you can access the class. I think there's a link through there as well to access the class.
Well, after we hang up, I'm going to get all these links from you, and I'll post it when I post this.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, because if you educate people, they can make good choices. And I've seen cases of the flu. Typically, the flu can be a week. About a week, it could drag on after that. So homeopathic treatment is designed to aid the vital force in moving through something so that you don't get stuck. So you're not just going to stop it dead in its tracks. What you're going to do is eliminate the chance of it going deeper into pneumonia, into something secondary. You're going to move through it quicker than you would if you weren't doing homeopathic remedies. And it just enhances your vitality. So what we know is that that process of getting sick, getting better, getting sick, getting better is what exercises our immune system. And in doing so, we discharge. So you're removing toxins from your system. You're resetting your gut biome. You're doing all of these very beneficial things when you have an acute illness, and you're also venting the deeper state. So what I mean by that is that when you suppress an illness and don't allow yourself to discharge, you can see chronic illness down the road. But when you're constantly venting a minor cold here, a minor virus there, maybe even the flu, you're discharging the toxins and you're exercising that immunity so that you have better long-term health outcomes.
And I talk about this a lot because it seems that people get sick a lot, like from Thanksgiving till like maybe the end of January. And I always say, maybe it's all that the change of your diet because it's the holiday season and you're eating all these Christmas cookies and you're eating all this sugar, that maybe it's not that you're sick, but you're actually detoxifying, that you're just moving the crap out of your body. I see it with my daughter. One of the things, it's weird, since we moved here a year and a half ago, she never had this problem before, but she gets eczema on her, like the creases of her elbows. And I look at that as she's detoxifying, that she's, when she does stuff at school, they're not eating organic. I just can't control how she eats 24/7,
Right. And we're a dynamic organism. Our prime directive, if you will, is to move towards perfection. I believe that. And we are constantly regenerating tissues, cells, all the time. So when people come to me and say, I have this little spot here, or I have eczema there, my first question is, how limiting is it? Is it limiting you in any way? Because if not, then we go back to what you just said. Could this be a detoxification process? It's simply a matter of the body moving through what it needs to move through. And if it's not limiting the individual, do we need to treat it? I mean, really, we all have anomalies. It's not like anybody has a perfect body. So it's a matter of just moving through it, staying with the question a little bit, and then supporting with anything natural, chiropractic, homeopathy, craniosacral, anything that's natural and supports the system is great. And, just move through things with that.
So there's this one homeopathic remedy that's known for being the flu, which I cannot pronounce, for the
Oscillococcinum.
That's it.
Yeah, we call it Aussie. You can just say Aussie.
Okay. But it's interesting because when people think of a homeopathic remedy for the flu, that's the one they think of.
Yeah. So, okay, I get asked this all the time, Nancy. Oscillococcinum is great if you can catch the symptoms right at the beginning. Right when you start getting sick, to take some Aussie can help to move you through it or even truncate it and, stop things from developing. On the packaging, it'll tell you, I think, to take an entire vial. You don't need that. They're selling pellets. You need a few pellets per dose. So one of those little boxes you get can really cover the whole family. It's not necessary. So once you start getting sick, oscillococcinum can be good. It's not so much a preventative in my mind. Something like an influenzinum would be a better preventative. And I take it as often as once a week during the flu season, especially if I'm in the office interfacing with somebody who's sick, sneezing. I'll take a dose of influenzinum in just a 30C. And it's great because it just familiarizes your system with those viruses, enabling you to mount an appropriate immune response if you need to.
Great. I think we are out of time. Will post all these links so people can learn about the different remedies, how they can reach you, and how they can even purchase this product that you're talking about that they can use season after season. And hopefully we'll get lots of people signing up to watch Real Immunity.
That sounds great. Thanks so much, Nancy.
Thank you.